Welcome into the Press Row Show, the number one rated pregame intermission postgame show this side of the Mississippi, south of the Arctic Circle, north of the equator. Bundy, they don't ask how, they ask how many.
Yeah, they have 2 points for the Flyers, a big 2 points, a game that they trailed for most of until the third period. They tied the game up on a fluke goal by Owen Tippett, who had a great game tonight, by the way. I thought he was the best Flyer on the ice tonight. And then in overtime, Forster got the puck on a 3-on-2. Straight line 3-on-2. There was no gap between the forwards as they entered the zone, and then Cates took the middle of the ice and snapped one by, was it Wellstead? The goaltender for Minnesota tonight. It's not Gustafson, but anyway, Flyers win the game in overtime. Not the most exciting hockey game in the world, but you'll take the 2 points at the end of it, that's for sure.
You take the 2. It was a weird game. You know, we talked about this in the first period. Not a lot of shots on net, but we said, hey, it's a little bit more open than the game against Winnipeg. Second period didn't exactly go the Flyers' way. And then in the third, it was, hey, you start with a power play. Let's see if they can score on it. Or you said, maybe build some momentum off it. And I don't know, the power play to start the third wasn't exactly going to inspire a ton of confidence. It wasn't great. But later on in the period, you say it. Owen Tippett was the guy, to go back to the old Laviism. He played with a lot of jam tonight.
He did.
And
he was the best Flyer on the ice tonight, one of the best players on the ice tonight.
Yes. And so on a night where you went into this game talking about Zeev Buium, you ultimately walk away from tonight not talking about Zeev Buium. You don't talk about the power play for Minnesota tonight.
3 power plays. They didn't connect on anything. In fact, I didn't even love their power play.
No, and they came in around 48% on the season. So it has been a very deadly power play. Flyers did a hell of a job. And listen, is this a cup contending team? No. The Flyers. Are they a cup contending team? No. Is there something to build on here? I would very much say yes. I've been on the record. I think that the Flyers, as currently constructed, could be a bubble playoff team, which is quite the improvement over last year when you're in the lottery. I want to talk about Vladar.
Yeah, Vladar was good.
Vladar made some big saves in big moments. Only allows 1 goal tonight. He's had a lot of success so far this season. Obviously, 2 games against the Panthers. We talked about this earlier in the week, but you got Seattle coming in on Monday.
Yeah.
They've been, Tocchet's been going back and forth between Ersson and Vladar. Based on what you saw tonight, based on what you've seen so far through, what are we up to, 6 games? That's 6 games already? Wow.
I think you're going to see Vladar Monday. I think it's when he's going to turn the tables a little bit and start to go with a guy that gives him more of a winning hand, or certainly a guy that's been better thus far this season has been Vladar. There's been no doubt about it. So I think with that said, I think that you're going to see him Monday in the pipes again. I may be wrong, but that's what I would at least be thinking if I were Rick Tocchet.
I think so too. I mean, he really has. You don't want to overrate a guy, right? You don't want to take a very small sample size and say, like, this is going to be gospel for the rest of the year. But he's been a steady force, right, in that.
He has. He's been rock solid when they've needed him to be. He hasn't let in the soft goals. He's done a great job, and he's really, really, I think, gave that team a chance in the third period today. Made a big save in overtime.
Yep.
I think he got a piece of that. The pass that went across it looked like a mini 2-on-1 by Minnesota, and it was the guy either shot wide or Vladar got a piece of it. But nonetheless, he made some key saves in this game tonight.
And then he made like a sort of composed play that ultimately was like down in that end where he was kind of shielding a player away from the puck, getting it back. Like he was out of net for a bit, and it started to get a little bit chaotic, and you could see that going sideways. But Flyers get the puck back to go right down the ice,
right down and scored right after that.
And Cates, yeah. So I mean,
yeah, Cates played a good game tonight too. He was really resilient on the forecheck, diligent. Him and Bobby Brink, I thought that a very, very, very strong game as well tonight.
I guess the question now, Bundy, is when you look at this team through 6 games, they're now 2-2-1. Not bad. I mean, we looked at this schedule going into the season, and we said it is absolutely murderer's row to start the season. And yes, they have played more games at home than they have on the road. Right? Yes. No. How many games did they play on the road?
1, 2, 3. 3, and the Flyers have played 2 on the road? Yeah, it's only 5 games.
Yeah, it was just the first 2.
I said 2-2-1. I can't do math.
Yeah,
I kept saying that was 6. That's only 5.
Right. Minnesota's played 6
So they've played more games on home ice than they have on the road. But all things considered, given the opponents, given the level of opponents that they've had to start the season against, this has to be viewed widely as a very strong start to the season, does it not?
Good comeback win, because you don't see a lot of them. Usually a team has a 1-0 lead or a lead after the second period. They usually go on to finish the game most of the time.
Yeah.
Most of the time. And the Flyers were resilient. They provided with some pretty decent goaltending in the third when needed. There wasn't a lot of shots by Minnesota in the third. Flyers really clamped down, took away the middle of the ice. Minnesota did it a lot of times. They had opportunities, a couple of opportunities, but for the most part, I thought the Flyers really flustered them in what their attack plan was tonight. Yeah. That was trying to get through the middle of the ice, and the Flyers did a good job of keeping the perimeter safe. It was really a good job.
When you look at the change in coaches from Torts a year ago to Tocchet this year, obviously you're going to have systems that are going to change. There are going to be tactics that are probably going to change between coaches. Does it look like the guys have kind of locked into what Tocchet's expecting of them so far?
I think defensively they have. I think there's still a lot more that's got to come offensively. There's not been enough shots yet. We haven't seen that 30-some shot effort, where you really 30, 35 shots on net where your team really peppered them. I think the Flyers have had trouble getting shots through as well, but they're giving the other team a hard time getting shots through. So kind of counters. They're playing a solid defensive game right now.
Now, I don't want to end this on a negative note, so we'll come back to some positive after, but we'd be remiss if we didn't note Matvei Mishkov, I think, took his last shift of the game around the 12-minute mark in the third period and then did not touch the ice again. Now, last year, we were very critical, or at least I was very critical of Torts for benching Mishkov in games. Tocchet has done this a few times now. What do you think is going into the decision in multiple games now that Mishkov has not played through the end of the game?
I think a little bit has to come down to his conditioning. I was looking, after he got sad, I was trying to see if there was something that Tocchet had seen, if he turned the puck over, if he made a fatal mistake that you can't make in the home stretch of the game. Yep. I didn't notice anything. If anybody saw something in the game, you can let us know on the comments. I didn't notice any kind of turnover or lapse in effort from his part. It may just be like Tocchet saying, like, other guys are skating. You had to put them out there. Like, you couldn't take Owen Tippett off the ice as the last few minutes came down. He was going every other shift. And then the take care, Mike. And then I lost my train of thought with Mike right there.
You're just saying that Mishkov didn't commit. You couldn't tell Mishkov committed
and the
cardinal sin or something.
The Cates line was really, really good down the stretch too. So you're going to play those guys that are going to give you a chance to win, and they ultimately did win the game for you. They did. Tippett tied the game, and the Cates line won it.
Yep. Let's see. So then you have this kind of thought over here from JR97. You can't score, but bench one of the players that gives you a chance to score. I like Mishkov a lot. Very high in Mishkov. Still think that Mishkov is ultimately going to be probably your most talented player going forward. But he doesn't look like the guy that was on the ice and dominating in large stretches last year as a rookie.
Yeah, we haven't really seen that guy, and until he gets back into the kind of game that we were accustomed to seeing at times last year. Rick Tocchet's going to make that a difficult journey for him. He needs to play the guys that are playing, and he does that. Tocchet will play the guys that are giving it for him that night, and he can't worry about the intangibles. If one guy's not on his game, and you have time off days to work on that, but you can't do it during the game. You have to put your best players on the ice.
I guess the thing that people are going to worry about is it's a new coach, and Mishkov, in the aftermath of Torts getting fired, said that he had good communication with Torts, despite what people might have thought. Mishkov was asked the other day about the communication with Tocchet, and he said the communication is really good. So I don't want people to the worst thing that could happen is people then start to create a narrative, right? And I guess this is maybe the benefit of the Flyers not being a particularly great team in recent years. If this were the Eagles, right, we would be having a conversation about, is Jalen Hurts not talking to Nick Sirianni a big deal? 610-632. But we're not doing that. And I guess in part, people don't have as watchful of an eye on the Flyers right now. The worst thing that could happen is people start to create some kind of narrative around, Mishkov's not playing well, and now he's getting benched, and is he going to want out? That's crazy.
No.
It's crazy. But
there's another level to his game that we haven't seen yet this year, and everybody knows it. And until he gets to that point, that's what they're going to demand of him. He's an important cog here. He really is. He's a big piece of this puzzle, and a big piece of the puzzle moving forward. So whether he had an injury that was lingering and he couldn't train, whether he's just flat out of shape, which it wouldn't be the first guy in the history of the league to show up in poor shape for training camp and take time into the season to get in shape, I don't know the case. There's been a lot of mixed messaging with that. Is it the injury? And then, no, he wasn't skating enough. So, there's been a little bit of weird mixed messaging coming from the top. But at the same time, he does need to be better because he's become that important to this team.
I also wonder if there's just something to be said for them still needing to figure out the right line combination for him to be on. I'm a little bit surprised that this goes back to the preseason, but like there was a lot of time that he was playing with Zegras, and there was a good stretch there where it was Zegras, Gurbenkin, and Mishkov together, and it looked like a good line. We haven't seen much of it so far in the regular season. Obviously, Gurbenkin wasn't in the lineup tonight. I guess to those guys, Gurbenkin and Luchenko were left out of the lineup tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they're trying to space out the Luchenko games, it seems, to keep him here as long as they can before probably sending him back to Guelph. Do you think Luchenko is back in the lineup on Monday? Do you think it's just going to be something where he's going to be held out? This combination of players worked.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what they want to do with him because he's so limited to the amount of games he plays. Unless they keep him and they play him, they just keep playing him. That's kind of a mystery still in terms of what you know what? I'm not sure they know yet what they want to do with him. But I'll tell you what, he's got to show more than he's shown in the games he's played so far.
I hope that
I'm not talking about scoring goals either or dangling guys. I'm talking about playing a responsible, solid hockey game.
Correct. I hope that Gurbenkin gets back in the lineup. He didn't have a great game against Winnipeg, but up until that point, and again, preseason, you don't put a lot of stock into it, but he really did bust his ass in the preseason. And when he's been in the lineup this season so far, very early, Gurbenkin has given them a lot of grit, has given them a lot of hustle, has been a guy that like you never have to question the motor of. I hope he ends up getting back in on Monday. We'll see. Maybe Tocchet just decides to roll with the same crew that won them the game tonight. We'll find out on Monday. Intern, was there anything that you wanted to get to here at the end of the game?
Yeah, I think that we have to mention Bundy came in pregame and mentioned that the Wild, not great 5-on-5, but they had the best power play in the league. Flyers penalty kill tonight was 3 for 3.
Yeah,
which was massive.
Penalty kill did a great job tonight. They really did.
The first one being right after Minnesota scored, Tocchet decides to challenge, gets it wrong, so they immediately go on the power play. There was a chance there the Wild could have gone up 2-0 in the blink of an eye. So the Flyers did a really, really good job on the penalty kill. That was huge. I think the 6 defensemen just as a whole today were very, very good. Blocking shots, getting in the passing lane, breaking up 2-on-1s. I didn't really see any egregious turnovers in the offensive zone. But the defensemen were really, really good tonight as a whole.
Yeah, I agree.
Funny, there's a comment that you wanted to get to here?
Well, yeah, just ask me if I've seen any other young player or any young players go through a slump like this. Like a slump like who? Like, are you talking about Mishkov?
Probably about Mishkov.
Or Konechny? See a fridge.
I think he's talking about Mishkov.
You know what? A slump is going to take a lot more games than just 5. He's got a goal through 5 games. So if you were in a slump, it's when you haven't scored in 12 or 14 games where you start getting concerned. So I wouldn't call it a slump. I would call it a little bit of a bad start. A bad start, I think, is a good way to call it, because there's times he's made some good plays in the games, but there's times he's been very high risk, and high risk is not going to work with a Rick Tocchet hockey team.
I will just say, on a very limited scale, I'm a little bit concerned. Just a little bit, not a lot. Not burning the boats. I'm a little bit concerned with Konechny's start to the season. He has a few assists, hasn't scored a goal, and I know we talked about this during one of the intermissions. You don't kind of look back to last year, but he went the last 10 games last year without scoring a goal. He's now scoreless in 5 to start this season. He needs to put the puck in the net. A team that does not have a goal-scoring Travis Konechny does not have nearly the ceiling as one that does, with him scoring around 30 or whatever on the year.
Yeah.
This can't go into a 10-game stretch to start the season without a goal. They've got to figure out a way to unlock that. They have to put that into the mind of the opposition. Right now, it just kind of feels like, Couturier is a better scoring threat so far.
So far, he has been, and he has been. As
maybe not ideal.
TK just needs to do. TK is a guy that's got a good shot. He makes good plays. He plays with a lot of tenacity and fire when he's on his game. But for him to score goals, he's got to go into the middle of the ice in the high traffic areas. That's where his goals are. He's not a big guy. He's not going to dominate anybody physically, but he can certainly do a better job of getting into those highly contested areas where the goals are going to be scoring for a guy like that.